What's up guys? It is Carly here bringing you day number 11 of my 31 days of horror, and today we are talking about a Stephen King adaptation, and that is Dreamcatcher from the year 2003, which I thought this came out in the 90s, but you know, early 2000s, close enough. But yeah, so Dreamcatcher, this is a movie that I had seen bits and pieces of before, and I also tried to read the book back in probably my sophomore year of high school, and I honestly don't remember it a whole lot because back then it was just really hard. I don't know, Stephen King books, like, I had trouble reading. I was more into the young adult stuff, which, you know, back then I was more in that age group anyway, so it kind of makes sense. So the book really didn't really stick with me or anything like that, and the movie, like I said, I don't think I ever watched it all the way through. It's a pretty long film, runs over 2 hours, so I would catch it on TV sometimes, but never actually watched it. So finally have this VHS tape here. I think JP actually got this for me as well, and I've been looking forward to checking this one out to just see if I remember anything about it. It's just the storyline and stuff like that, and finally got the chance to. So the story for Dreamcatcher is you have this group of friends, they're all guys, and you learn early on that they kind of have these weird mind powers where they can like talk without talking, you know, kind of reminiscent of stuff like in The Shining or something like that, where they can kind of read each other's minds and stop things from happening and all that. And they kind of get this from helping a childhood friend or just some kid that they knew when they were young. He's this kid who obviously has special needs, and he's being bullied by a group of bigger kids, and they help him out. And this kid just, there's something unusual about him, and ever since they do this, that's when they get these powers. So these people, you know, they're grown now, and they go on this camping trip in the woods, and it's snowing out. It's kind of a very isolated area, and they happen upon some weird instances, and they realize that there is sort of this alien invasion thing going on, and they have to try to stop it. All the while there's like this military base run by Morgan Freeman's character, which he's not in the movie like a ton, but he is there, and he's kind of like a short-tempered, unhinged type of character, and he's kind of trying to just contain all these people that are infected by these aliens. So, you know, that's all kind of going on together, and that is the basic story. I did really enjoy several aspects about this. For one thing, it kind of is a little bit reminiscent of The Thing, where you just have this group of guy friends, and they're out in this isolated area in the snow, but it's not nearly as atmospheric or isolated as you get with The Thing, because obviously they can leave and do things like that, but kind of just has that vibe. I've always kind of enjoyed the snowy weather vibe because I'm not a big fan of winter myself, and I think it would just suck to be in a bad situation and be kind of out in the cold, and it's hard to really get around in the snow and stuff like that. So I like that about it. I also just like the aspect of all these guy characters, this group of friends. It kind of reminds you of It or Stand By Me. It's the same type of thing going on, especially when you get the flashbacks to their childhood. You definitely get that feel, and I always really enjoy movies like that. The group of characters, I think, work really well together. You just feel like they really are truly best friends, and they've been together for all this time, so really enjoy that about it as well. The movie, you know, the alien creatures are okay, but there's a lot of just CGI in this film that doesn't really work for me. Those type of effects never have really worked for me in any movie. I know some people can deal with it in some films, but just the fake aspect of it has always taken me out of films, and I don't really care for it. I think the movie could have been a lot more effective if they used more of the practical effects, because some of those scenes are pretty cool, and the stuff they're trying to do is pretty cool, but it could have just looked a lot better if it was a little more realistic looking, I guess. So that's kind of one of the problems I have, but of course this came out in like 2003, and I feel like the late 90s to early 2000s was kind of prime time for using the CG effects. So, you know, what can you do? It's kind of a product of its time with that. The stuff with the military aspects, like the Morgan Freeman stuff going on, I never really care for that type of stuff in my movies. I would much prefer this to be just a group of guys kind of in the woods taking on alien things together, but you kind of have that going on simultaneously, and you know, for me personally, I'm just not a big fan. I wouldn't say it's a major flaw or anything in the movie, but when I'm watching a film, again, that's something that always kind of takes me out of it. I don't know what it is. It's just like, I feel like I don't really need it, so that's kind of not the story that I was hoping for, but overall, I think the movie is pretty solid. It's got, you know, I think the main group of characters really kind of just saves it. It makes it a good movie, as well as the setting. If you do like these sort of snowy, in the middle of nowhere type of settings, you would definitely dig this one. My biggest issues really are just kind of with the effects. Story itself, like I said, is not really for me because it does add in that military stuff, but I think it's a fun ride overall, and I do recommend checking it out. As I said, it runs over 2 hours. It's 134 minutes, so it is a longer film, but it's not a slow burn, I wouldn't say, or anything like that. It keeps going, and you know, you're kind of enthralled and invested with the characters, so I really don't think that's a major problem with the film either. It's just a little bit dated. So Dreamcatcher, I give this one a 7 out of 10. Thank you guys once again for joining me for day number 11 of my 31 days of horror, and I'll see you tomorrow for day number 12.